Hey, this is Alex with the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Unbiased Blazers. There's a link in our bio for our Discord server where you can join in on the discussions, give us your takes, give us comments, or simply just join in on a podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review our show. And if you're listening on Spotify, there's a new feature where you can rate our show as well. Now, let's get to the show. Rip City, baby.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0.
Lift off and the clock has started.
Rip City, what is going on? Episode 52 of the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. I'm going to come off right from the bat and apologize. I have COVID right now. I feel like absolute dog doo-doo. I've got the aches, the shakes, and the quakes. And I wanted to do a podcast because we have a lot of exciting things to talk about. So, first off, if my thoughts aren't very well spoken, I'm going to blame it on that. Me and Fawad were talking a little bit before this. He's just now getting over COVID, and I'm just now starting it. So it's been a fun week for Fawad, and it's going to be a fun week for me now. Fawad, how are you feeling?
Yeah, it's a crazy coincidence that both of us got COVID at basically the same time, opposite coasts, different countries. But yeah, like you said, I'm on the recovery now. I've had it for like 5-6 days. Feeling a lot better now. I think, or at least it feels to me like my voice is still a little bit like hoarse. So if that sounds off, like I apologize for that. But you know, my fever, my headache, all of that is gone. Just the sore throat left, and then hopefully another day or two, and I'll be fully good.
Yeah, and last time I checked, the CDC did not say anyone could get COVID from a podcast, so you guys are all safe. But like I was mentioning, we wanted to do a podcast even though I wasn't feeling the best, and Fawad's starting to feel better. We wanted to do a podcast because we have a lot of exciting things to talk about. And let's just jump right into the very first thing. And if you don't know, buckle in, because we are the 2023 Summer League champions. It was, I watched every single game. That very first game against Detroit, I was like, uh-oh, this is going to be an ugly Summer League. And then we just totally turned it around. And honestly, I'm trying to remember the Detroit game. This might just be COVID brain, but I honestly don't remember much of it. I don't remember, was it a close game or did we get blown out?
I don't remember either. I think it was maybe like around 10. All I remember from that game is Sharp got hurt like 5 minutes in.
Oh, shit. Oh man, COVID plus this. Here we go. Okay, we're gonna get into that. That is so crazy. When we were preparing this episode, we didn't even bring this up. So let's talk about that before we get into everything else. As Fawad just mentioned, 5 minutes into the very first game of the Pistons, we had kind of talked about it a little bit in the last episode. Sharp, he didn't tear his labrum, right? But he strained it, I think, is what they said.
I think they did say a tear, but
did they say a tear?
I don't remember for sure.
Okay. Or no, you're right. It was like a slight tear. It wasn't like a serious one, but they were wanting to be cautious with it. So, we were so, when we made the pick, I'm just gonna say how I feel about it. Okay. Everyone that was in the watch party with us, that a couple podcasts ago, we played the reaction to us drafting him. And then the next episode, we kind of talked about how we were getting more comfortable with the idea of drafting him. And for me, I still am on the side of I'm willing to give it a shot and, not jump him and say he's a bust already. I truly am. But this was my issue when we did draft him. And it's something that I talked about a little bit. I'm afraid that he's the type of player that's going to be an injury issue constantly. I mean, he in high school, his freshman year, he got hurt playing football. So I don't think he played at all freshman year. His sophomore year, he went to a school, and I don't know if the coach didn't play him, if he just had a bad season. I don't know what it was, but he had a terrible sophomore year. And then his junior year, he played like 12 or 13 games. And then I think he got hurt. And then he graduated early, went to Kentucky. Obviously, we know he didn't play for Kentucky. And then he went to, I don't think it was an AAU circuit, but it was something along those lines, where he played a little bit as well, but I believe he got hurt there as well. And then 5 minutes into our game, on a play that when it happened, I was watching it and I was like, it didn't even really look to me like how would you get hurt like that? But that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid he's going to be one of those players where, like, you know, he steps wrong and he rolls his ankle and he's out for a month because he rolled his ankle, and then, you know, he runs into somebody and he's got a shoulder issue, and that's what I'm afraid of. I'm still willing to give it, you know, obviously we have no idea. He's super young, super athletic, so I'm still willing to give it a chance. I just hope that my fears are not true. How did you feel when he got hurt?
It sucked, and honestly, I kind of just laughed at it because, you know, of course that would happen to our first lottery pick in uh, a while. I guess Zach Collins was a lottery pick too, but you know, like this guy we've been looking forward to for so long, and 5 minutes into the game he gets injured. Like every Portland star, any chance of hope that we have always gets hurt. So I laughed at the irony of it, but afterwards, yeah, I was really sad. You know, we couldn't get to see more of him, and he probably won't play much during the season as well. So we're gonna have very little to go off of even during the season. So I was upset about missing out on, you know, the only chance we had to see him play, you know, big minutes in a 5-on-5 setting, which he said he hadn't played in I think like 10 months or something like that. So yeah, you know, I really want to see how he would be. Uh, but yeah, I didn't know about all that injury history that you talked about, like from his high school stuff. So that's new to me. So I wasn't concerned about that aspect of it at all at the time, you know, because I didn't know about it. So that is a little bit concerning, you know, hearing it now. But I think hopefully it's just one thing, you know, like one isolated incident. But I think that is the same injury that Zach Collins missed a year from, and I think Nasir Little had the same injury last year as well, that he had to miss, you know, the rest of the season, and I think he just got cleared about a month ago to play. So it does seem like, unless it's very, very minor, it seems like he'll probably miss. You know, he might not be ready for the start of the season. He definitely won't be ready for the start of the season, but maybe
And miss a good chunk
yeah,
of time.
like December, January, which means he won't be able to practice with the team, you know, during training camp, during most of the season. So that's just more, you know, development that we're losing out on. So that kind of sucks. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I think today's day 10 since the injury, or since they said since they said what the injury was. So we'll hear back soon. They said 10 to 14 days is when he'll be reevaluated. Uh, Actually, I think today's 11 days. So, you know, sometime between today and Friday, we'll find out a little bit more about what his timeline is. But yeah, just really unfortunate. This was the time, you know, for him to shine and shut up all the haters and just prove he was worthy of that 7th pick. But, you know, we didn't get to see that.
Totally agree. Totally agree. So let's jump into what we were going to talk about before you brought up that great point. We are the champions. We have rings. We have a trophy. We have shirts that say champions on it, hats, and one thing. This is the main thing that I wanted to talk about. And if you guys take anything from this podcast tonight, it's this right here. The amount of defense that was being played by us is so encouraging for what the regular season is going to look like. We were pressuring the ball. We were trapping. We were forcing so many turnovers. And I get it. I get it's summer league and these aren't the, you know, greatest players, but we held every team under 80, I believe, except for maybe the Pistons. Maybe that one was a little bit higher.
Pistons scored 81. We lost by 3.
Okay. New York, which is who we beat in the championship game, and we actually beat them, like, I think game 3 as well. They were averaging like 101 points a game or something like that. And the first game we held them to 77, I believe. And the second game was just as, you know, somewhere right around that same number. So the championship game, sorry. So defense was like, I can't even express how, like, it was amazing. Watford was
Really
great on
quickly,
defense.
Uh,
Yep, go for it.
It was almost the exact same score for both the games. I just realized they scored 77 in both of them. We scored 85 in the first one, and then no, we scored 85. Yes, or in the championship game, and 88 in the first game. So almost
Yeah, I
identical.
mean, then the commentators were talking nonstop about how good of defense we were playing, and it was true. I mean, every single player was. Greg Brown was playing pretty good defense.
Mhm.
Watford was playing great defense. I'm Keon was playing, like he was pressuring the ball so much, and we're gonna talk about each one of those guys individually here in a little bit. But what was your take from just the summer league in general, and your reaction to winning the championship? And I know it's just summer league basketball, and we're excited to win a championship, but what how did you feel?
Yeah, pretty much exactly the same as you. But also the Rockets game was also 85-77. So that's two games with the exact same score and one that was off by 3. I find that cool. I don't know about you. Uh, but yeah, the defense throughout summer league was crazy. Like you said, Keon was the biggest surprise for me on that end because
Totally agree.
I knew Watford was at least like an okay defender. He played better than I expected as well on that end. But Keon, I didn't think he had any defensive chops at all, and he was locked down. He was getting deflections. He was staying with his guy. He was just doing everything right. And he's like, okay, I knew he was athletic, but he was using his athleticism on defense really well too. A lot of guys, when you hear they're athletic, it's just they go up for a dunk like once in a while. Like I said, he was getting deflections. He was quick to the loose balls. There's so many little things that I liked from him, and that I hadn't seen in him before, and I didn't expect to see now. Um, so yeah, he impressed on the defensive end for sure. He had on offense it was hit or miss. He had some really good games and he had some really bad games. I think that's still coming around. I don't really know what to take away from that. Based on just 4 or 5 games, but defense for sure. He definitely surprised me, and I think um, his ceiling in my eyes went higher than it was before summer league. Even though it is just summer league, but still, I liked, just seeing players show the effort. That's like a lot for me, and I think that more often than not, the effort translates, even if the actual results might not. Like the offense might not translate, but I think the defensive effort, that's a very good sign from what we saw from Keon.
You said it perfectly. It's something we talked about long ago. Like episode 20, like that long ago. I mean, if you commit to defense, you can be a good defensive player. If you put in the work and the effort, you can be a good defensive player. And that whole team was defense was amazing. And we're gonna get into each player here in a second, but I just want to I can't stress enough how amazing the defense was, and I hope it carries over to the regular season. And if it does, we're gonna be a pretty dangerous team if we're playing any kind of remotely defense to how we were playing there, which we do have players to do that. I mean, I think in Randy with the last episode we did with Randy, he talked about how besides Dame and Ant, we don't really have a defender that we would consider below average. Everyone's
Yeah.
either average or above. That's gonna at least play, like get significant play time. So
Mhm. Um,
super excited.
Yeah, hopefully Coach Hetz can translate that with the starters and with the whole team as well. And before going talking about each guy individually, I think on offense, like the team overall, their chemistry was really notable to me. I think a lot of summer league teams are like just put together; they haven't really played together, and our guys played a lot towards the end of the season. So I think that really showed, and that's
Mhm.
why even though we didn't have like we had a lottery pick, but he wasn't playing like it was all undrafted guys in Watford, late second rounders like Jabari Walker. They were still playing so good together because they have or Jabari hasn't played together, but he was still fitting in. Yeah, they played together. They just they showed that chemistry. They were passing the ball on offense. I feel like a lot of the time in summer league, you have guys fighting for contracts, and they just they chuck shots. And we did have one chucker on the team in Colby Ross, I think his name is, but
Ugh.
but the rest of the team, they were passing. There was great ball movement. Like Trendon was making great passes a lot of the time. Jabari's passes were great. Even Keon had a couple good passes, but I think some of his were also like very risky, and that led to a lot of turnovers. But when it wasn't turnover, I thought he made good passes as well. So I like seeing that chemistry and ball movement in summer league.
Totally agree. And you could tell that the chemistry with Keon and Watford and Greg Brown and Williams were
Mhm.
all, you could tell it was there, and it was. I think that played a huge part in us winning. But let's go ahead. Let's jump into these players real quick. Very first one I want to talk about, the surprise I think of the summer league for everybody, Jabari Walker, dude. I mean, if summer league was any indication of what he can do for us, we got a steal at that pick, that late second round pick. We got a steal. Offensively, defensively, he was making plays, effort plays, hustle plays. He can shoot the three. He was rebounding like a madman out there a lot of
Mhm.
the times. I'm super excited for Walker. I people, jump on the hype train really quick and start talking about how he needs to, earn a lot of playing time and everything. I think if he were to get playing time, it's not going to be much. 5 minutes, probably somewhere around there, if that. But it was very promising. I think, at least for me, he was the surprise for summer league for us. I can't say enough good things about him. He was all over the place, and I'm actually kind of mad that we didn't play him more. We never started him. When he came in, he helped us. If we were struggling offensively, he came in and instantly was like creating offense for us. And defensively, like I said, he was playing great too. So, how did you feel Walker did?
I don't even have a words. Like, he was so impressive for a 57th pick to play that well in summer league. Like I was talking about, these guys haven't played together before. Trendon, Greg Brown, all those guys have. Jabari came in right away. He fit in with them so well. He was passing the ball. He was rebounding. His passes were probably my favorite thing because
Oof,
that one fast break where he did the thing behind his head, like
behind the head.
lost my mind. And
Yes.
it's not even like that was the only one. He was making good passes just on every single possession, whether it was a fast break or just half court offense. He was making the right pass, and a lot of the times it was like it was a pretty pass too. So that was really fun to see for me. I'm just pulling up his averages. He only had 1.4 assists, which is lower than I expected, but it was still good. And 9 rebounds, like we were talking, like you said, his rebounding is amazing. He was fifth in all of summer league in rebounding, while only playing 22 minutes a game. So,
I was just going to ask you how many minutes he played.
but 22 is actually more than I expected. It's not too far off from the rest of our starters. I think it just felt like he wasn't playing that much because as soon as he came off, like the game changed when he was there. It was just different. Like, his plus minus was so high in every single
Hmm.
game. It was a notable presence every single game. Like, when he was on the floor, we were playing better as a team. So, and he shot 63% from the field and 43% from three. So there was nothing he didn't do like extraordinarily well in summer league. Um, I don't know about minutes in the regular season. Maybe he'll get them, maybe not. But um, only because I think we have a lot of players at the four. We have Jeremy Grant, Watford, Winslow, and now Jabari Walker. All those guys feel like they're worthy of minutes, but we obviously can't fit them all in. So as far
Yeah.
as the rotation goes, I don't know about that, but from what I saw in summer league, I was thoroughly impressed. His defense was good. Oh, and speaking of his defense, it wasn't just he's not just a rim protector. He was sticking with guards. He was playing great
Yes.
perimeter defense. That was, you know, I could go on for hours about talking about how much I liked seeing Jabari Walker play. I was saying, everyone was saying the whole time, he's the better Jabari. He arguably had a better summer league than Jabari Smith. Um, you know, go on, but I'll let you come back in.
Well, there's nothing more I can add to it. I mean, we both said it pretty much exactly, and you brought up his on-ball defense on the perimeter. The man could lock down anybody that had the ball, and he was keeping up with the guards. He was not a liability at all when he was guarding the ball. He did sign a contract. I don't know if you have that up right now or not. If you do, go for it. If not, We can get it later.
I will get it right now, but off the top of my head,
Okay.
it was a 3-year deal. The third year was fully non-guaranteed, and the second year was only partially guaranteed. The exact numbers don't really matter. It was the minimum contract, whatever it was.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, that was really interesting as well. I kind of wanted to say, okay, whatever. I'll just get into it now. It's really interesting contract because it's a 3-year deal, and you can't just sign any second rounder to a 3-year deal, even though it is fairly common that contract. We had to have, um, you know, how you just sign a vet min like for any other guy. You can only do that for up to 2 years. So if you want to sign a 3-year deal, it has to be out of your MLE or some other exception. So that's why the Gary Payton deal, it was for 8.4 mil, even though our full MLE was around 10, a little bit, maybe a little bit more. We left that little space in case we want to sign Jabari. So I think that was good that we made sure to leave that space to sign him for 3 years rather than just 2, because if you sign him for just 2, you don't have his full bird rights at the end of the contract, and
True.
with 3 you do, and it's non-guaranteed. So worst case, if he does turn out to be a bust, you don't have that third year you need to worry about. And then also, we didn't do a 4-year deal because the thing with 4-year deals is at the end of it, they're an unrestricted free agent. If you do a 3-year deal, they're restricted free agent. So I think 3-year deal was perfect. It was exactly what we needed to do, and I'm glad we got it done. There was a chance he could have gotten a 2-way, but I think his play on the court was um, like they knew they had to sign him to a contract. If he had a poor summer league, it might have gone either way, maybe a 2-way, maybe a contract. But after the way he played, there was no question he was getting a full contract.
Yep, I agree. I thought at first he wasn't going to be a two-way player, and then the way he came out and played, he quickly quieted that down. Um, well-deserved contract. I'm excited to see what he can do. Um, looking forward to seeing what he can do for us. The next guy I wanted to talk about real quick, Trendon Watford. Obviously, we know he was the championship MVP. He got second team all summer league, I believe. Um, the first game was offensively was a little rocky, at least in my eyes. He looked like he was rushing a lot and he was fumbling the ball and tripping and losing the ball a lot. But defensively in the first game he was great, and then the rest of the summer league he was very good offensively, and defensively he was just as good. Better on defense, honestly. I'm really excited. We obviously got a taste of him last year, and we were excited for him, and we got a very good contract for him. So I'm looking forward to seeing him develop even more.
Yeah, again, 100% agree. First game, yeah, it was definitely a little bit rough on offense. He fumbled the ball a couple times. I don't have his actual game-by-game numbers on me, but I feel like he probably had a couple turnovers. I felt like he had butterfingers. Even in the other game, I noticed a couple times, like, uh, he just lost control of the ball sometimes, which was a little weird to me. But I think he might just not be used to handling the ball as much, so that might have been why. But yeah, like you said, the other games his offense was fine, sometimes even really good, and his defense was just phenomenal. I thought I was so impressed with him on that end. Like you said, he was good at the end of the season, but I thought he played even better now, which is expected since it is a worse competition. Worse competition, but he was guarding every position, whether it was the perimeter, whether it was bigs inside. I thought he was doing a little bit of everything. He made the right switches like all the time. I thought everything he was doing was he was just playing the best defense he possibly could, and that was really encouraging to see. Um, and yeah, his offense on the other games, his shot was okay. I'm trying to find the numbers, but he probably shot like maybe like 35%, which is respectable. And he was driving in pretty well. Something I didn't see and I wanted to were his like trademark floaters from the end of last season. They were like money. They went in every single time. I feel like we didn't see much of that, if at all, this year or in summer league. But um, he still got his points from inside, even though it wasn't always like, okay, he he's not a scorer. He's not going to be like the go-to guy, but he showed that if he needs to, he can get a bucket. Um, you know,
Exactly.
if he has the right matchup. So that was good to see. We're not gonna need him to do all of that in the regular season, anyways. It's just when he gets the ball down low, can he finish over guys? And if he has an open lane, can he drive in and score? And that's he showed he can do that, uh, like easily. That was good to see from him. And again, his defense was just great. I don't think there's a summer league all defense team, but if there is, I think he probably would have made the first team for sure.
I think so too. Yep. So one thing Fuad wanted to talk about, and I like the idea, so we're gonna do this right before we wrap up. He wanted to look at the previous summer league MVPs and like the championship MVPs and kind of see how they've turned out. So this year, our boy Keegan Murray, who Fuad and I were both very big on, and we're hoping, praying that somehow we would be able to draft him. He won MVP. He had a great summer league. Obviously, we don't know how he's going to turn out, but future looks bright. Sacramento made a good pick. A lot of people were clowning them for taking him, and I don't understand why. And he showed why. He's a very good pick. And then, like I mentioned, Watford was MVP of the championship game. So good for us. Good for Keegan Murray. The next one was Davion Mitchell. So back to back, Sacramento had 2 MVPs for summer league. And Davion Mitchell, he's got promise. I think I know he's this is only his second year now, but he showed some flashes that he could be a good player.
Yeah,
And
I
then
liked him from what I saw from him. He's a good defender. His offense is a little weak, but it was better towards the end of the season. I like him.
yeah, I think he started out kind of hot, and a lot of people were excited about him. And then he kind of cooled off a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we had Cam Thomas. Honestly, I don't know much about Cam Thomas. He won MVP in 2021 with Davion Mitchell, so I don't know much about Cam Thomas. I think he was in summer league this year again, wasn't he?
I'm not sure, but I know that a lot of Nets fans really like him. I think he had a couple really high scoring games in his rookie season. But yeah, other than that, I don't know too much about him.
And then we had Brandon Clark, which I think Brandon Clark's a pretty good player for the Pelicans. Or no, not for Pelicans. Sorry, Memphis.
The Grizzlies.
Yeah. He won in 2019, so I think he's got a pretty bright future. But then 2018, we got our boy Josh Hart. He was summer league MVP, so he's on our team. Glad he's on our team. Me and you are very big on him and think he's going to fit very well for us.
Yep.
And I'm excited to see what we can do with him. And then 2017, we have Lonzo Ball. He's definitely, he was a second pick, and a lot of people were questioning whether he, was worth a second pick. Did he? I mean, he's a good player, right? He's very good defensively. He's improved his shot. His passing is pretty good. So I don't think he's a terrible player.
He gets a lot of flack, but I actually do like him a lot. He's not going to be a superstar or anything, but I think he's a very good role player. He can probably start on most teams. So yeah, I like him. I think he was maybe not worth the 2 pick, but
yeah, I think 2 might have been a little bit of a reach, seeing how it's turned out, but I don't think he's not a good player. Yeah. 2016 was Tyus Jones. I believe he's still with Minnesota, right?
I feel like he's with Memphis.
Or no, he is with Memphis. You're right, because he played when Ja went down.
Yeah.
Tyus Jones has been actually been a really good player for Memphis. So.
Yeah, the general trend that I was noticing with a lot of these guys is almost all of them, or maybe even all of them, at worst they were good. They were good role players, or they were good rotation players. Most of them were starters. Josh Hart is gonna be a starter for us. Lonzo starts for the Bulls. The next guy would have been Kyle Anderson. I don't remember if he started for Memphis or if he was off the bench, but he
comes off the bench.
Oh, okay, he's another good role player. A little further down, you have Jonas Valanciunas, who's a good center. And then after that, there's this one point guard named Damian Lillard. He's had a decent career. And then John Wall, Blake Griffin. So it's like there's some high end guys, and there's even the lower end of the guys. There's still good role players. So I think if you're a summer league MVP, or if you have a really strong showing in summer league, I think it's it can translate. It's not It's not nothing.
Exactly. And just shout out here, Lillard had to share it with Josh Selby, who I believe played like a total of 5 games his entire NBA career, and he had to share Summer League MVP with Dame. So, what a steal they got there.
He played
Um,
38 games across 2 seasons.
Oh, okay. Well, he played more than I thought. Yeah, I think Summer League MVP. It is like you said. Most of these players are at least good role players. At the least, most of them are good role players, and um, yeah, I'm excited to see what this season holds. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Oh, Greg Brown. We completely skipped
Oh,
over.
yeah, Greg Brown.
I guess just really quickly, I saw a lot of people on Reddit. They didn't like him too much. Like they thought he didn't improve at all. I don't know if I agree with that because I thought his defense was really really good. He had a lot of blocks obviously, but I think he was he was protecting the rim overall really good too. It wasn't just like chasing blocks like Hassan Whiteside or something like that. I thought he was actually defending really well. And then his offense, it wasn't great, but I liked that he was being aggressive and he wasn't just launching threes like he was a lot last year. I thought the shots he was taking were pretty good, and I thought he got fouled. He was drawing fouls enough too. I don't have his numbers on me, but I didn't hate what I saw from him on offense, and I liked him overall because of his defensive side.
Yeah, I mean, I think he performed about what I expected. I don't think he was terrible. I don't think he was great, but he did play good defensively. Um, Offensively, he was a little. There was one point where he tried to dunk it from like 12 feet out, standing still, and got like blocked right away. It was pretty funny, but he's very athletic. We don't need. Obviously, he was a second round pick. Anything we can get out of him is going to be a bonus. I don't think he did terrible. I liked when he. I didn't. Let's put it this way: when he came in, I wasn't afraid that he was going to mess us up, and I wasn't like his defense was enough that I was like, yeah, he can play as much as he wants.
Let me
Unlike
ask you this.
Kobe Ross, who dribbled literally. I've never seen a player dribble
Oh
for
my god.
15 seconds and then finally pass the ball, and it was like every possession. I've never seen that.
Yeah, and when he did pass, half the time it was a turnover.
Terrible.
But yeah, let me ask you this: was there anyone on the team other than our guys that you liked enough that you'd be interested in bringing on as a two-way? We already have Brandon Williams as one of our two-ways, but for the other spot, was there anyone you liked?
I'm trying to think. I don't really think there was anyone
Go first. Yeah,
that like.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There wasn't anyone that jumped out to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no one jumped out to me either. If I had to pick one, I think Kyle Anderson was okay. I think
Yes, he was okay.
he felt like another Greg Brown to me, but maybe not as athletic.
That's a good comparison, actually.
Yeah, he got a fair amount of blocks, but on offense he wasn't really doing much. But yeah, if I had to pick one, it would be him. But no one really jumped out to me either.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much set with our roster. I don't think there's going to be any surprises from Summer League. Somehow we managed to get a worse player than CJ Ellaby with Kobe Ross.
I mean,
So
it's not
glad he's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. Who do you think's worse between those two?
I think it would be Kobe Ross because
I do too.
CJ Ellaby was bad against NBA players. Ross was bad against not NBA players.
That's a good point. And Ellaby was athletic and could jump and get some rebounds and play decent defense, and he had the ostrich hair, so shout out to the ostrich.
And I never felt like Ellaby's decision making was bad. He just wasn't talented. He had a decent amount of hustle. His rebounding I feel like was okay enough. Ross, I feel like it was actually his way he played that was not good.
So before we wrap this up, we just kind of wanted to give a little schedule out of what the plan kind of is, because now we're in the dark days of the off season. We're like 2 months away from preseason starting. So we're gonna try to get a little creative with some of the things we do to kind of fill in the time. Um, I want to put this out there. If you're still listening, feel free to shoot us a DM, Twitter, Discord, whatever, on ideas for the podcast. Things to talk about. One thing I wanted to talk about or wanted to do with a bunch of people is do some kind of like fantasy draft type of thing where we do like a listener podcast and we do kind of like a pick a all-star team and you can pick any players you want, or maybe just strictly stay with Blazer players. I think probably if we did a listener podcast, we'd have to do like all NBA players, but we just want to kind of, there's not going to be a lot to talk about these coming weeks, so we want to come up with some things to talk about. And so if you guys have any ideas, opinions, feel free to shoot them our way. We would love to do that. We'll probably do a couple special guests. So if that's something you're into, if you want to come on and talk, let us know and we will gladly get you on there. We have a couple people that we've been trying to plan, so stay tuned to that. Other than that, is there anything else you want to add, Fuad?
Yeah, I kind of meant to talk about it when we were talking about Jabari Walker earlier, but he was on the Locked On podcast
Oh, yes. Yes, my bad.
with Mike Richmond. I think it was a couple days ago. I think they filmed it a while ago, but it came out yesterday, I think. Um, so yeah, I would recommend checking that out as well. But there was just some interesting things that I found interesting, and I want to tell you guys about if you haven't listened to it. Um, Mike Richmond basically asked him how much contact he had with the Blazers before we picked him, because we didn't work out with him, in when we called guys over. He wasn't one of the guys we worked out. So he said that he was actually pretty close to Mike Schmitz, because he interviewed him a couple times. He came to some of his games. So I thought that was interesting to have some official confirmation that it was directly Mike Schmitz who got us Jabari Walker. So that hiring is already paying off. He showed he's worth the money. He showed he is a good, a good scout, a good talent evaluator. So I thought that was fun. That it was he pretty much confirmed that was directly because of Mike Schmitz. And then something else I found an interesting story was that he said some teams that he did work out for, they were like in the late first, like in the 20s, and he thought there was a chance he could go as high as the mid to late 20s, and he thought he might surprise some people, and that didn't happen. So he thought for sure he would go early 30s because that's where he was mocked most often and where most of the teams he worked out was for. And then his name kept getting passed on, and he was getting more frustrated. And when he got to like 40s, he was like, okay, come on, like now I have to get picked up. There's not 40 guys better than me. And then he said he was with his family too, and they were happy. They just wanted to hear his name get called wherever it was, but he was internally getting a little bit frustrated. And I think he said something like at that point, like he didn't even mind going undrafted. Like he was just so mad. Yeah, he was just so mad about how far he'd fell. And at 50, he was just like, okay, like what went wrong? And he was just so mad. But then we got to 57. His family was happy, and then he was just like, okay. After what has it been, like 2 weeks since the draft? He said he's been so happy with how it turned out. He's felt the love from the fan base. He's liked the organization. So I just found that interesting. He went almost 30 spots later than he expected to, but it still just worked out. It worked out for him. It worked out for us. So I thought that was fun.
Yeah, I think he's mentioned multiple times that he kind of has a chip on his shoulder for kind of getting passed on by everybody. So that's a good thing for us. And one thing I wanted to add to what you were talking about, I was listening to NBA radio on Sirius XM, and they were talking about how a lot of players, once they get past like the 30s in the picks, they want to go undrafted because then they can kind of pick and choose what teams they
Yeah.
try to go to. So you're spot on. He was spot on. At that point, he probably was like, I kind of do hope I go undrafted and I can just go kind of choose what fit is going to be best for me. And I think he got a good fit with us.
Yeah, I think Fred VanVleet might have been one of those guys who, uh,
Yep.
after the mid-second round, he just told teams not to pick him because he'd rather go undrafted. But yeah, speaking of a chip on his shoulder, he said he actually considered choosing 57 as his number just to, remind people what pick he was, but then he was like, no, eventually I'll get over it, and then it'll just be like a weird, ugly number. So
Yeah.
he picked, I think, 34 instead.
Yeah, it's I'm excited to see what he's got. Anything else before we close up?
No. Sorry, nope. I think I'm good.
Okay. If you guys made it this long listening to my low energy, raspy voice, I appreciate it. Me and Fawad both appreciate every single listen we get. Other than that, I hope you guys have a good day, good night. Stay safe out there. Don't get COVID like me and Fawad because it sucks. Other than that, have a great night. And as always, Rip City, baby.